In today's show, we're going to look at the PowerApps SharePoint LookUp column problem. If you've done any work with the two, you know they don't get along very well. So in today's video, we're going to recreate a lookup column functionality, but all using out-of-the-box PowerApps functionality, so that way we don't have any of this chaos anymore. But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with PowerApps 911. Those guys. In today's show, we're going to dive into the relationship between PowerApps and the SharePoint lookup column. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know multiple times I point out those two, they just butt heads, right? They can work together in some scenarios, just some of the functionality like searching and filtering and the drop-down or combo drop-downs and things like that. They don't play well. So what I'm going to do in today's video is actually show you how you can recreate that functionality inside of SharePoint just using PowerApps. And we'll do a couple things that the lookup column can't to make it worth your time. All right, should be interesting. So let's just jump over here to my desktop and we'll open my browser. And so for today's show, we're going to do a little different. We're going to start from SharePoint. And so here's a simple SharePoint list that I've created. And right now these are, this is just normal text, text. This is a normal drop-down with the choices coming straight out of SharePoint. In this department field, this is also a normal text column, but we're going to turn it into a lookup column with our own functionality. And so the first thing I want to do is something else we haven't done before, and that is we're going to open the PowerApps directly from here. So we're going to hit PowerApps. There's two options here, create an app or customize forms. Create an app takes you over to the normal web builder. You kind of go through the process like you always have. But customize forms, what that's going to do, right, before we click that, if I double click on CEO right here, you can see that that just opens a default SharePoint list editing experience, right? We can edit all, that is just a SharePoint list experience. But if we cancel out of there, we either hit this customize button to go make this, turn this into a PowerApps form, or what I was about to show you, we're going to hit the drop down here and say customize forms. Either one works, so let's just click on one of them. All right, this will load up PowerApps. It'll take just a second. All right, call it 30 seconds or so of edited out time. I will skip the welcome. And so here you can see that it drops us in. It created us a single screen app. And then this one screen has just a form. And that form is going to be different whether we're viewing the SharePoint list item or editing. There are a few nuances here. One is that the SharePoint integration, this is what's feeding the data in. So that's our data source. Also, you'll notice that on this screen, there are no submit form, edit form, none of the buttons that you're used to seeing. And so they're all driven by SharePoint up at the top. We'll point those out when we get back over there. But it is a little different because sometimes you're used to using those buttons or changing their behaviors. You don't have access to those buttons right now. So, all right. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on my SharePoint form, and it is just a normal form. So I'm going to click on vertical, and I'm going to get rid of some of the cruft, right? I don't want to see all of these silly fields. Maybe you do. I don't. So we're going to get rid of modified, created, created by, modified by, and ID. Okay. So a little friendlier looking form. So we'll close that. And so then now what I want to do is I'm going to get over here into making department. So right now, department is just single line of text. Boo. We want to make that have lookup-like functionality. So what we're going to do is we're going to first unlock this card. So advanced and unlock the card. And we're going to get rid of this input field that it currently has. So we'll say delete. We get these warnings. Those are about some sizing stuff. We'll fix those in a minute. But just don't overthink those. Ignore those for right now. But so now I want to make sure I'm still on my card. And I'm going to do an insert here. And I'm going to insert a dropdown. So controls and a dropdown. And then I'm going to kind of drag the mouse and try and make it the right size. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm not very good at making things look nice. So don't expect this to look nice either. But I expect your apps to be pretty. You guys do it. Me, not so much. Okay, so in our dropdown right now, it's pulling from the dropdown sample. Well, we don't want that. We want to pull from a different SharePoint list. And just to show off a little bit, instead of pulling from a list in the same site collection like you do with out-of-the-box lookup columns, we're going to go get this from a different site collection. So over here in a different site collection, and I can show you the URLs in a second, we have a list for department masters. And so it just has two columns, title and then who the manager is. So back over here, we're going to go to view data sources. We're going to add a data source. And we're going to go to SharePoint. And we're going to choose this site collection. And so then there we have departments master. We'll check that box. We'll say connect. Okay, so now we have access to that data, right? One of the big upsides of Power Apps, we can connect to multiple locations. And this doesn't have to come out of SharePoint. This could be coming out of Excel, out of SQL, anywhere that you can connect to, you could be pulling this from. I just figured we'd do SharePoint since we're in a SharePoint mindset today. All right, so now that we have that, let's go back to our dropdown. And so here for items, instead of dropdown sample, we're going to change this to be departments master dot, and then we want to use the title column. I guess I could type instead of scrolling down there. There you go. And so then now what will happen if we do a preview real quick? Nothing will happen because it's rude. Okay, so what happened here is it's one of those cases where this functionality, let's say that it has its moments where it likes to try your patience. And so all it was in the first try, it missed loading the data for whatever reason. So all we have to do is turn around, go in here. I'm going to Control X, Control V, paste it right back in, and now hit preview, and there's our departments. Don't overthink it. It's just Power Apps and SharePoint. They're being grumpy with each other. And you'll see as we go through this demo, there's a lot of these scenarios where we just need to refresh the screen to get the thing that we did to show up. So, okay, so that gets our data in there. Now we want to do a couple fixes though. So let's fix this. So right now it's saying, hey, the Y value, I don't know what that is. Well, what it is it used to auto size how tall the thing was based on the data card 5's value, but we deleted data card 5, right? That was the input box that we got rid of. So then what we want to do is we're just going to change this data card to be drop down 1. In some of my videos, I end up just deleting this because it just annoys me. You know, it's auto sizing. It's Power Apps trying to make things look nice for us. So today will be good and we'll put it back in. So this other warning is it's like, well, when you submit this form, I'm supposed to use data card 5 or value 5's text. This is where a lot of people mess up when they start customizing forms. So this update, right, in SharePoint, there's this button up here that says save, which is really going to submit this form. And so what it's going to do is it's going to use the update value for the data card. And so right now that is an invalid value. So what we're going to do is we're going to change it to be dropdown1.selected.title. And so then now whatever's in our drop-down list, or whatever's been selected in our drop-down list, we're going to take the title property for that and write that back to SharePoint, which is exactly what we want to do. So that's the setting we need to make. Okay. So that honestly gets you done, right? I mean, we're going to do a lot more. We're going to customize this more, but that was really the thing I needed you to understand, right? We just had to change that drop-down to be our thing. So let's look at how we can make this better though. One of the things you have to update, I probably should have said before I would say we were done, is your default is currently 1. That is not a value. So default here should be this item dot department, right? Because we need to pull the department from the item that's being displayed. We don't want to change it every time they open up our edit form, right? So we need to be pulling the data back from there. So this item dot department, so it defaults to the correct thing. Other things that I like to do here, it really bothers me. Let's go to items. It really bothers me that they are it's not in alphabetical order, right? Hit the drop down here, IT, executive, accounting, finance. It should be accounting, should be at top. So what I will do here is you can take this guy and you can just say we want to sort by columns. What data do we want to sort? We want to sort that data and we want to sort it by the title column. Just like that. Now if we hit play, hit the drop down, and now they're in alphabetical order, right? Accounting, executive, finance, IT. I need to get my kindergartner to check, but I'm pretty sure that's alphabetical order. So that's something that I always have to fix. Another thing that I highly recommend, right? Let's save this and I'll show you what I'm going to recommend. Let's go back to SharePoint. So that's how you save this. You hit back to SharePoint. It's like, hey, you want me to save and publish this? Yes, we do. So we'll save, we'll publish. I'll stop talking until it finishes. All right, faster than I could get a drink of my sweet tea. It has finished. And so now if we go in here and we click on our double click on our CEO, we're going to see that we get a little bit of a different look here. If we say edit all, we'll see that, look, there's our colors. Probably should alphabetize those. We won't do it, but I would if it was really me. We'll get rid of our colors, and then there's our departments. And because her department was IT, the drop-down already was automatically set to IT. So we can save that back. We go into Greg, right? Somehow my driver's in accounting. We'll edit him. We'll take advantage of the fact we can change things. We'll change him to be executive and then say save. Boom. So that is pulling data from a different site collection, right? Because we're in the sites PA site collection, and that's pulling from over here in the root site collection, right? So pretty cool there. But there's a few things we still need to work on. So one of them is if you do a new, look at this. By default, it shows the executive department, right? And it's going to always show a value. Well, it's not always going to be that value. So for me, that's a real turnoff. So let's click on customize and let's look at how I would fix that. Actually, before we click customize, what you're going to do to fix that, I'll jump to the chase a little bit, is we need to go back over here to our master list, and I'm going to add a new record, and I'm going to set the title to be a dash, and I'm going to set the manager to be dash, right? Unfortunately, as far as I know with PowerApps dropdowns, there's no way to set the default to be blank unless there is truly a blank. So in previous examples, like with some of my solutions, I've done like a space, so it looked like it was a blank, but that gets really hard for you to work with later because you're like, wait, is that a space or is there nothing there? It gets confusing because you can't see a space. So that's when I switch to this dash mentality. So now that we've switched to that, if we go back over here and we say customize, you guys should really thank me for all the 30 seconds I cut out these videos. So we'll say skip. And so right now, if we hit the drop down, let's hit play and see what it's in there. So our dash is now in there. And so our default value, let's change this, look at this. So our default value needs to be this item.department. If we're in view mode or if we are in edit mode. But if we are in new mode, then we need this to not be that, right? And so we're going to do if SharePoint form 1, right? That's the form that we're on. Let's get a little spacing here. Dot mode equals form mode, right? And this is where people get themselves in trouble. You have to choose the right, whether it's form mode or display mode or that type of stuff. Form mode dot new. Okay, so if SharePoint form 1 mode equals form mode new, then what do we want to do is we want to set the default to be dash, right? So we'll do a little dash guy like that. And that's why I use dash instead of space because it makes that a lot easier. If it doesn't, then what we're going to do is we're going to say we want to use this item dot department like so. Boom. Okay, so let's try that out. So go back to SharePoint. And this is one of those things that's also difficult about doing the customized SharePoint forms. We kind of have to keep going back and forth, and it's a long trip back and forth. I'll say publish. So if you're trying to understand concepts like how to make these forms work, it's a lot easier to do it on just a form that you created where you can quickly flip back and forth in the preview mode and control the behaviors. So just a tip if you're still in that really early learning phase. All right, so let's double click on CEO. Let's make sure it still works. Looks like good, good. Okay, so that's fine. If we go to our dear friend, the new button, we'll get off of CEO, new. There you go. So now new shows a dash. So that's very important, to kind of think through. When you're making these things, we're recreating a bunch of functionality, and with this all-in SharePoint form where it's one form for everything, we end up with a lot of ifs as we start to customize, okay? So there you go. So let's just make a new person. We'll say Shane. Oh, I'm already in there. What do you do? So what is my title? We'll have a title of dog. We'll have my dog's name, Chewy, Young. His favorite color is going to be orange, and his department is going to be executive, of course. And so we'll say save. Hey, look at that. Our functionality is working. Great. All right. So let's mess around with this a little more, though. Let's have some more fun, right? Because that's what we're here for. So we'll take this another step. So let's customize our form again. Okay. And so then we'll skip over this and So now what I want to do is I want to talk to you about a couple of things. So one is that people have said, hey, I need to have a button on the screen, but I need my button to act a certain way, and they've had problems with it. One of the things I recommend if you're going to do any type of that stuff, right, you can click on your SharePoint form, grab the bottom here and drag it up, okay? Right, because my form's never going to be bigger than that. So now what I can do is I have all of this space down here at the bottom where I can put things that exist outside of this form that SharePoint is controlling for me, whether it's in new, edit, or view mode, and I can kind of do my own thing down here. So that's one of the important things to do. So what we might do though is let's take this, let's make our form a little bigger, is grab this guy, let's make it a little bigger. I'm gonna grab this card. And so right now, we're pulling the department, but one of the things that's kind of neat about lookups is it can pull related columns as well. Well, why don't we pull a related column? We're smart, we can figure this out. So I am in this same data card. You don't have to be, but I thought it made most sense in my head too. And so we're going to say insert a label. All right, we'll grab this label, we'll kind of pull it down here, and I'm going to say something like this. I'm going to say department manager is boom and, oh, no, not like that. And what are we going to do? We're going to say this item dot, well, no, we don't have managers, so we can't do this item. So what we need to do is we need to go figure out who that is. And so how we're going to do that is we're going to do a lookup. We're going to say lookup from department master. We want title equals drop down one dot selected dot title. Okay, so that's going to find that record. But then what we're going to do is instead of returning the title again, we're going to return the manager column. So does that make sense? We're going to go look in this department master's list, and we're going to find out where the title equals what they picked in the dropdown. So they chose accounting, and then we're going to return the manager, which is accounting Amy. See? So that should be all of that. So we'll put a little parenthesis at the end here. It's thinking about it. There you go. Department manager is IT Irma. So let's go back to SharePoint and see what happens. Save and publish. Okay, and so then back over here, if we click on, double click on driver, boom. All right, so this is exactly what I wanted to have happen. This happened to me a bunch when I was trying to make this video, or trying to set up to make this video. Notice that our whole data is not down here, right? I kept scratching my head. Why am I not seeing executive Ella, I think, down there underneath? The reason is it's cache. The screen has been cached. So if you just hit your reload this page, refresh here in your browser, double click on driver again, wait patiently, department manager is executive Ella. So don't let the fact that it caches between the two make you as angry as it did me. I was really driving myself bonkers. And what I took to doing at the end was like putting like a dot on the screen. And I would just move it a little bit so I would know if the dot was here, it was the old screen. If it was the dot was over here, it was the bad screen. That was not what I would do in production, but while I was in this testing building phase, I like to have visual indicators that, I'm on the version that I think I'm on. So hopefully it doesn't come easy for me to say. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that for you, and you guys just know to use the refresh button generously to make sure that you're seeing it. But either way, this is pretty cool, right? Now we know the department manager is executive Ella. So let's do one more thing with this. Let's customize again. Okay, let's skip. And so what I'm going to do, remember we talked about like buttons. And the reason I'm going to put the button outside the form is there's some nuances to when the button will be clickable based on what mode the form is in. And so I didn't want to have to explain that or have you guys worry about it. So if you want to stick a button on here, just stick it outside the screen. And then you're in control of what the button does, not the silly SharePoint integration. Okay, but so we're going to take this button. We're going to change its text to be open department. And so what we're going to do with this button is we're going to make it so that when you click on it, it goes and opens up that record from the other list directly. Yeah, pretty cool. I thought it was. Maybe you don't. I do. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of the launch function. And then for the address, we're going to do another one of our friendly lookups. We're going to look up from department master again. And we're going to look up on title equals, right? The same exact thing we just did. Drop down one selected dot title. But then this time, we're going to pull back the link column because that has the full URL. And so we're going to pass that to the launch function. Do like so. And if we go down here, let's see, open department. What are you mad about? Oh, I forgot one of my parentheses. There you go. Shoo. I was like, what did I do wrong now? All right. So then now that that's done, we'll go back to SharePoint again. I'll edit out 30 seconds again for you. Okay, then back over here, let's double click on driver. And so you can see our button didn't show up. So we know what? We know that I just need to do a refresh of the browser. All right, double click on driver again. There's our button. And so if I click open department, earlier I thought, why isn't this working? It's because my pop-up was blocked. If I click on the pop-up and click on that link, success! We opened the executive record from the other list in a different site collection, all from a button. So this is the type of stuff that, maybe it's not exactly what you want to do, but hopefully it shows you things you can do. Maybe down here you have a button that emails a link to this record to someone else. Maybe you have a thing that kicks off a workflow. I don't know what you do, but you have the ability to put buttons in here. And in a later video, we're going to talk about putting some tabs at the top here so you can actually have multiple screens, but that's not for today. All right, 2 more things. We're almost done. Video's definitely gotten longer than I expected, but hopefully you're having fun. Okay, so then we'll get back over here. We'll skip again. So one of the things I want to make sure you think about, though, is that this would be kind of awkward that this will all be here. These buttons would be here on a new record. So what I would want you to do, and we won't do it because it'll just make the video longer, but what I'd want you to do is change this text. And so have this text be, if the form mode is new, then show nothing, right? If the form mode is anything else, then show the text that we have here. For the button, right, we would do the same thing, but we would do our friend visible. And so instead of visible being true, it would be if form mode is new, then it's false, else it's true. So those are the little things that you guys have to think about and put in order to make a better experience for your users, right? They don't need an open department button when they're creating a new record and they have no idea what the department is, and it would take them nowhere. It would just be an awkward experience. So hide things that they're not using and they shouldn't be seeing. And you just do that with if. If is your friend. It's usually either if visible or if, and it's changing the text to be blank if they shouldn't be seeing that right then. Okay, so I want to make sure we talked about those things. And then the last thing we'll do, we'll go back to SharePoint for the final time. See you in a second. Oh, I missed you guys. All right, so the other thing is maybe you've been playing with this and you know what? You made this form and your boss is like, I hate it. I do not want a custom form. It's terrible. Or you made a form that's really bad and you just want to start over. We'll say that's probably more likely. What you can do is you can go over here to list settings and then you can go to form settings. And so then you can change your form back to use the default SharePoint form. And if you just do that and say, okay, then we'll go back to the normal form. But if you need to get rid of it, then you see this delete custom form. Notice though, when you're on this guy, you do not see delete. So that confused me earlier too. So hopefully save you some pain. So this is how you get rid of that custom form altogether if you didn't want to see it anymore. And then info path, boo, stay away from it. It's old, it's scary. The last thing worth mentioning is that you probably noticed, but this is a modern list. The PowerApps integration this way only works with a modern list. So if you're still using non-modern list, that won't work. So, all right. Well, hopefully that helps you guys out, right? That is recreating the lookup field functionality without using the silly lookup field that SharePoint and PowerApps do not agree about how that should work. All right. So check it out. Give me feedback. Let me know. Maybe you need me to go deeper into the SharePoint piece, or maybe you're like, what's a modern list? And you need me to make a video on that. I'm open. You tell me what you need. As always, if you need anything else, hit me up through PowerApps 911. All right? Thanks, and have a great day. Hey, it's me again. If you got a second, click the subscribe button. That always keeps me making more videos. Or if you want to work together, need some help getting your PowerApps going, hit me up at PowerApps 911. Always happy to work together. Or finally, if you're really just looking for more videos, that's probably what it is, check out the PowerApps playlist over here and enjoy that. All right, thanks, and have a great day.